The silent passenger Jake had been driving for hours. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, flanked by dark forests on both sides. The night was quiet, too quiet. No other cars, no distant city lights, just him and the road. He glanced at the fuel gauge. Half a tank. He could make it another 100 miles before stopping. Still, a cup of coffee wouldn't hurt. Up ahead, a neon sign flickered weakly. 24-hour diner. Pulling into the empty parking lot, Jake grabbed his wallet and stepped out. The night air was strangely still. The diner was small, its windows clouded from years of grease and cigarette smoke. A bell jingled as he entered. Inside, a single waitress stood behind the counter, wiping it down with slow, methodical movements. Her name tag read Linda. "Coffee?" she asked without looking up. "Yeah, thanks," Jake replied, sliding into a booth. The place was nearly empty, except for a man sitting at the far end of the counter. He was dressed in an old, dusty suit, his face hidden by the brim of his hat. His hands, long and bony, tapped rhythmically on the counter. Something about him made Jake uneasy. Linda set a chip mug in front of him, steaming black coffee swirling inside. "You driving far?" she asked. "Yeah, heading west. Trying to get to Seattle by tomorrow." Linda's lips tightened. "Be careful on the road." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Why?" She hesitated, then leaned in slightly. "People see things out there at night. Things that shouldn't be." Jake chuckled. "Like what? Ghosts?" Linda didn't laugh. She simply glanced toward the man at the counter, then walked away. A chill crept up Jake's spine. He turned to look at the man again. He hadn't moved, hadn't sipped his drink, just sat there, hands still tapping. Finishing his coffee, Jake tossed a few bills on the table and stood up. As he passed the counter, the man finally moved. Slowly, he lifted his head. Jake caught a glimpse of his face. His skin was stretched tight over sharp bones, his eyes deep black voids. A grin spread across his face, revealing impossibly sharp teeth. Jake's heart pounded. He rushed out, fumbling with his keys. He jumped into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and started the engine. As he sped away, his pulse gradually slowed. Just some creepy old guy. Probably a local legend meant to spook travelers. An hour later, the coffee had worn off. His eyelids felt heavy. He adjusted the rearview mirror and froze. There, in the back seat, sat the man from the diner. Jake's breath caught in his throat. His fingers gripped the wheel so tightly they ached. The man grinned wider. "Mind if I ride along?" Jake slammed on the brakes. His car skidded to a stop on the empty road. He turned, ready to fight or flee. The back seat was empty. Panting, Jake wiped the sweat from his brow. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. Just exhaustion. Just his mind playing tricks. Shaking his head, he put the car back in drive and continued down the highway. The forest pressed in closer on both sides, the road narrowing into darkness. A green sign loomed ahead. "Rest stop. 2 miles perfect." He needed to clear his head. As he pulled into the small rest area, the place looked abandoned. A single street light buzzed weakly, casting long shadows over cracked pavement. There were vending machines, a single restroom, and a few picnic tables. Jake stepped out, stretching. The night was eerily silent. No wind, no crickets. A soft tap sounded behind him. He spun around. The back seat door was open. His stomach twisted into knots. He had locked it. He was sure he had locked it. A whisper drifted through the still air. "Keep driving, Jake." Jake whirled around, his heart hammering against his ribs. The man from the diner stood a few feet away, his hat now gone, revealing a gaunt, skeletal face. His grin was impossibly wide, his black eyes reflecting nothing. Jake stumbled back. What do you want?" The man took a slow step forward. I just want a ride. Jake turned and bolted to his car. He barely managed to slam the door shut before speeding off, tires screeching. In the mirror, the rest stop faded into the distance. The man didn't chase him. He didn't need to, because he was already inside the car. Jake screamed. The next morning, authorities found his vehicle abandoned on the side of the highway. The driver's seat was empty. The doors were locked. No sign of Jake. Only a single chilling clue remained. A hat resting neatly on the back seat. Whispers in the attic. Emma never wanted to move into the old house. It was too far from the city, too big for just her and her father, and far too creepy. The house had been in their family for generations, but after her mother passed away, her father insisted on moving there for a fresh start. From the moment they arrived, something felt off. The house was too quiet. The air felt heavy, like a storm was always about to roll in. But the worst part was the attic. Emma had always hated attics. Something about the cramped space, the dust, the forgotten relics of the past. It made her skin crawl. But this attic was worse, because at night she could hear whispers. The first night, she barely slept. The house creaked like an old ship, and the wind howled through the trees outside. But then through the noise she heard it, a faint, raspy whisper. It was too low to make out words, but it was definitely a voice, and it was coming from the ceiling. Emma sat up in bed, heart pounding. "Dad?" she called out. Silence. Holding her breath, she forced herself to listen. A soft, scratching sound followed the whisper, like nails dragging against wood. It was coming from the attic. She pulled the covers over her head and squeezed her eyes shut, willing herself to sleep. The next morning over breakfast, she told her dad about the noise. "It's probably just rats," he said, flipping through a newspaper. "Rats don't whisper," Emma muttered. Her dad sighed. "Look, I'll check the attic later, okay?" That evening, Emma stared at the attic door at the end of the hallway. It was just a normal wooden door, nothing unusual about it, but the air around it felt wrong, like something behind it was waiting. She shook off the thought and went to bed early, determined to get some sleep. But at 3:12 a.m., she woke up again. This time the whispers were louder, and they were saying her name. "Emma!" She sat up so fast her head spun. Cold sweat dripped down her back. The voice was hoarse, dry, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. And then, thump! A heavy, dragging sound came from above. She bolted out of bed and ran to her father's room. "Dad, wake up!" She shook his shoulder. "What? What's wrong?" he mumbled. "The attic." The whispering. It said my name. Her father groaned and rubbed his eyes. "Emma, you're scaring yourself. There's nothing up there." Before she could argue, he threw the blanket off and grabbed a flashlight. "Come on," he sighed. "Let's check it out." Emma's stomach twisted, but she followed him. The attic door creaked open, revealing a wooden ladder leading up into darkness. A musty, rotten smell hit them instantly. Her father climbed up first, shining the flashlight around. "Nothing here," he called. "Just some old furniture and—" He stopped. Emma's chest tightened. "What? What is it?" Her father didn't answer for a long time. Then he whispered, "There's something written on the wall." Emma climbed up after him, gripping the ladder so tightly her knuckles turned white. The attic was cold. Dust swirled in the flashlight beam. And on the far wall, written in jagged, bloody letters, "Emma." Her breath caught in her throat. "What the hell?" Her father ran a shaking hand through his hair. This is just some prank. Maybe your cousins wrote it years ago." But then a low wheezing sound filled the attic, and from the shadows in the corner, something moved. Emma barely had time to register the long, bony fingers crawling over the wooden floor before her father grabbed her and yanked her down the ladder. They slammed the attic door shut. Silence. Neither of them spoke. The next morning, her father nailed the attic door shut. "We're moving," he muttered. Emma didn't argue. They left 2 days later. Months passed. They never spoke of the attic again. But one night, Emma woke up in her new home, heart racing. A faint, raspy whisper echoed in the darkness. "Emma?" She wasn't anywhere near that house, but the whisper had followed her. The men in the reflection. Lena had always hated mirrors. Something about them unsettled her. The way they reflected the world, but never quite perfectly. The way they captured moments, freezing them in glass. But it wasn't until she moved into her new apartment that she truly understood why. It started small. At first, she thought she was just tired. She glanced into the bathroom mirror while brushing her teeth and swear she saw her reflection move out of sync. A blink that happened a fraction of a second too late. A smile that lingered a moment longer than it should have. She told herself it was just stress. Work had been overwhelming, and she hadn't been sleeping well. But deep down, a gnawing unease settled in her stomach. Then things got worse. One night as she passed the hallway mirror, she saw it. Her reflection was standing still. Lena froze, her breath catching in her throat. She slowly raised her hand. The reflection followed. She turned her head. It copied. Everything was normal. Had she imagined it? Shaking her head, she hurried to bed, convincing herself she was just exhausted. Days passed, and she avoided the mirrors as much as possible. She dressed without looking. She brushed her hair staring at the floor, but the feeling never left her. Then one night she woke up to a soft tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. Her eyes fluttered open. It was coming from the bathroom. She sat up, pulse pounding. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, the darkness inside pressing against the dim light from her bedside lamp. And then, tap, tap, tap. It was coming from inside the mirror. Lena's entire body went cold. She wanted to run, to leave the apartment, but something compelled her to move forward. Barefoot, she stepped closer. The air grew thick, heavy. Every instinct screamed at her to stop, but she didn't. The bathroom was empty, but the mirror wasn't. Her reflection stood there, wide-eyed, trembling, pressing both hands against the glass. Lena stumbled back. The reflection didn't move, and then, in a voice like cracked glass, it whispered, "He's behind you." A chill ran down her spine. Slowly, so slowly, she turned. The bathroom was empty. Her heart pounded. She whipped back to the mirror. But now the reflection was normal again, perfectly synchronized. Had she imagined it? Shaking, she backed away, slammed the bathroom door shut, and crawled under her covers, heart racing until sleep finally took her. The next day, she convinced herself it had been a dream, a trick of the mind. Stress, fatigue, anything but what it really felt like. But deep inside, she knew better. That night, she covered every mirror in the apartment, bed sheets, towels, anything to keep the reflections away. For the first time in weeks, she slept soundly until 3:47 a.m. When she woke up to the sound of fabric tearing, her heart nearly stopped. She turned her head, and every mirror was uncovered. Her breath hitched. A single word was written across the bathroom mirror in smeared condensation. "Hello!" The air in the room shifted. A presence. Something was with her. Lena grabbed her keys and ran. She never went back. She broke the lease the next morning, left everything behind, and moved across the city. It took time, but she started to feel safe again. Until one evening, weeks later, she was walking past a storefront, and in the glass window, just for a second, her reflection smiled, but she didn't.